Thank you for joining me in my studies today. This is my final day of vocal readings from Book 17, Thich Nhat Hanh's Touching Peace. The subjects that are covered in these final pages are war, violence, overconsumption, drug abuse, interbeing, and nirvana. I will add today that what I'm trying to do here is strike a balance, a very tricky one, between offering enough in my readings and covering passages thoroughly enough that I can give a sensation of what is covered in the book and give some texture and some flavor from the book without taking away the incentive to read the book thoroughly yourself. That's certainly a tricky balance and a tightrope that I'm happy to be walking here. Without further ado, I'm going to get straight to the book. Enjoy. Is it possible for a bodhisattva to get angry? Of course it is. A bodhisattva doesn't have to be perfect. Anyone who is aware of what is happening and tries to wake up other people is a bodhisattva. We know that when we have peace and joy in ourselves, our peace and joy vibrate throughout the cosmos. So when we have hatred and anger in ourselves, they too will rebound to all quarters. We need to be there for those who need us, to let them know that we share their suffering, that we suffer too. When someone feels understood, his suffering is diminished. Please don't forget this aspect of the practice. Knowing is a longer passage. This imagery is so incredibly vivid and moving. I think it's enriching that I read it in its entirety. If we practice mindfulness, we will know how to look deeply into the nature of war and with our insight, wake people up so that together we can avoid repeating the same horrors again and again. We who were born from war know what it is. The war is in us, but it is also in everyone. We all saw the video of the Los Angeles policemen beating Rodney King. When I saw those images, I identified with Rodney King and I suffered a lot. You must have felt the same. We were all beaten at the same time. But when I looked more deeply, I saw that I am also the 5 policemen. I could not separate myself from the men who did the beating. They were manifesting the hatred and violence that pervades our society. Everything is ready to explode, and we are all co-responsible. Not only does the one who is beaten suffer, but the ones who are doing the beating also suffer. If not, why would they do it? Only if you suffer will you make other people suffer. If you are peaceful and happy, you will not inflict suffering on other people. The policemen also need our love and understanding. We have helped create them through our forgetfulness, through the way we live our daily lives. In my heart, I feel no blame for anyone. Sitting on the grass with your little boy or girl, point out the tiny yellow and blue flowers that grow among the grasses and contemplate these miracles together. Peace education begins on this occasion. In the West, people have the impression that their body belongs to them, that they can do anything they want to their body. They feel they have the right to live their lives however they please, and the law supports them. This is individualism. But according to the teaching of interbeing, your body is not yours alone. Your body belongs to your ancestors, your parents, and future generations, and it also belongs to society and all other living beings. All of them have come together to bring about the presence of this body. Keeping your body healthy is an expression of gratitude to the whole cosmos, the trees, the clouds, everything. You practice this precept for everyone. If you are healthy, physically and mentally, all of us will benefit. Just as we make every effort to maintain a proper diet for our body, we must also maintain a proper diet for our consciousness, refraining from ingesting toxic intellectual and spiritual food. When we watch TV, read magazines or books, or pick up the telephone, we only make our condition worse if our consuming is not mindful. Bombs are a product of the fear in our collective consciousness. Just to remove the bombs is not enough. Even if we were able to transport all the bombs to the moon, we would not be safe because the roots of the war and the bombs are still in our collective consciousness. We will not abolish war with angry demonstrations. We have to transform the toxins in our own consciousness and in our collective consciousness. Our society produces millions of hungry ghosts, people of all ages. I have seen some not yet 10 years old who have no roots at all. They have never experienced happiness at home, and they have nothing to believe in or belong to. This is the main sickness of our time. With nothing to believe in, how can you survive? How can you find the energy to smile or to touch the linden tree or the beautiful sky? Mindfulness is something we can believe in. It is our capacity of being aware of what is going on in the present moment. To believe in mindfulness is safe and not at all abstract. Mindfulness is the kind of light that shows us the way. It is the living Buddha inside of each of us. Mindfulness gives birth to insight, awakening, compassion, and love. As we look deeply in order to discover our true self, we find that what we've been calling a self is made entirely of non-self elements. Our body and mind have their roots in society, in nature, and in those we love. Some of us may not like to talk or think about our roots because we've suffered so much from the violence of our family or our culture. We want to leave these things behind and search for something new. It is easy to understand why we feel this way, but when we practice looking deeply, we discover that our ancestors and our traditions are still in us. We may be angry at them, but they are still there, urging us to come back and connect with their joys and their pains. We have no choice but to get in touch with the roots that are in us. The moment we connect with them, a transformation takes place in us, and our pain begins to melt away. We see that we are an element in a continuation of our ancestors, and we are also the way for future generations. We come to the practice of meditation seeking relief from our suffering, and meditation can teach us how to transform our suffering and obtain basic relief. But the deepest kind of relief is the realization of nirvana. There are two dimensions to life, and we should be able to touch both. One is like a wave, and we call it the historical dimension. The other is like the water, and we call it the ultimate dimension, or nirvana. We usually touch just the wave, but when we discover how to touch the water, we receive the highest fruit that meditation can offer. Nirvana means extinction, the extinction of all notions and concepts, including the concepts of birth, death, being, non-being, coming, and going. Nirvana is the ultimate dimension of life, a state of coolness, peace, and joy. It is not a state to be attained after you die. You can touch nirvana right now by breathing, walking, and drinking your tea in mindfulness. You have been nirvanized since the very non-beginning. Everything and everyone is dwelling in nirvana. When you touch one thing with deep awareness, you touch everything. The same is true of time. When you touch one moment with deep awareness, you touch all moments. According to the Avatamsaka Sutra, if you live one moment deeply, that moment contains all the past and all the future in it. The one contains the all. Touching the present moment does not mean getting rid of the past or the future. As you touch the present moment, you realize that the present is made of the past and is creating the future. Touching the present, you touch the past and the future at the same time. You touch globally the infinity of time, the ultimate dimension of reality. Before I say goodbye today, I want to talk just a little bit about the idea of the bodhisattva. We've heard Thich Nhat Hanh say in the readings from today that we are all bodhisattvas. We've heard Alan Watts teach us the same. It is certainly easy to consider that the bodhisattva resides within the skin of a human form. Something that we can open ourselves to as we connect more and more with the idea and the sensations of non-selfhood is that the bodhisattva is not necessarily riding in human form. I find it to be something that is often between human forms. There are many cases of understanding a bodhisattva in action, and there are many cases where we see that the bodhisattva is not who we expect it to be. And I think that those cases are especially vital in waking us up to the possibility that the bodhisattva is not in one human form, is something that we all share. Specifically, when Thich Nhat Hanh speaks of the energy of the blooming of the flower within each of us and how we want to be close to that when we see it blooming, I see the bodhisattva between the individuals that are magnetizing toward each other in that case. I don't see the bodhisattva just in the person who's blooming, who feels like a magnet to some who want to be close to that person for reasons that they can't quite describe. I see the bodhisattva also in the person who's feeling the magnet. I see the blooming also in the person who's feeling magnetized toward another flower blooming. The bodhisattva is in the interaction, is in the interbeing. We are each a pattern of circumstances and heredity, riding and interacting in our human form, negotiating with our ecosystem, our environment, responding to it. And there is also a larger pattern of circumstances and heredity that resides in the sacred all that we are all part of, and that is not restricted to this moment in time. As when we deeply connect to it, we open our understanding that we can connect beyond the present moment in connecting to that eternal quality of deep resonance with the present moment. I feel connection to this truth as I sense the bodhisattva in our interbeing. I sense that it is something that is in motion between us, making itself accessible to all of us and making itself seen, pulling away its mask through interaction between us so often, opening its awareness in surprising spaces. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to sharing my decision about the next book, Book 18, that I will be doing vocal readings from. and I hope you are having a lovely day.